I like to use a long sustained sound first. Something you can manipulate throughout the timeline as it goes along with pitch or volume, whatever you're going to use. When I'm using density, I like to start with the drones. So this is a riser that I've made for one of our recent free packs, and all the plugins are off. So right now I'm just going to go through these sounds and play them for you and just kind of go over what I've done. One of the main things you want to use when creating risers is pitch shifting. That's one of the main staples of a riser. That's why it's called a riser, because it rises in pitch over time. That's why you want some long sustained sound first and foremost, so you can kind of have a base to add all your other elements to. Stuff to bring up the intensity more as it goes along. So here I have this drone that I've used. It's just one of the drag and drops from our density waves. And I'll play this for you here. Okay, so as you can see, it's just a low sustained drone. So what I've done to it here, I've obviously used some reverb. Valhalla reverb is what I normally use for risers. So I've got a little bit of just EQ, just cutting off all that mud on the low end. I don't want any extra sound that I don't want that's going to mud up the entire mix. I'm also using the pitch shifting. So as you see here, as it goes throughout the timeline, I'm automating the pitch. So it's shifting as it goes along. Okay, so that's usually the first step in creating a riser. Then if I'm going to make something kind of intense, which is usually the risers I make, I want to add some distortion to it. And one of my favorite distortion plugins to use is Trash from Isotope. Here it is. It's a great plugin. You can use all sorts of different saturating sounds, driving, distorting sounds. So this is what I've used to create some distortion for this sound. And then all I've done is, usually after I've used some effects like this, I want to clean up the sound afterwards, because there could be some extraneous noise that's being added by these plugins after I've already cut off this low here. I cut this low off here so when it goes into these plugins, these plugins are getting a clean sound to it. They're not getting this mud. But these plugins may be creating some extraneous noise on their own that I don't want in. And these plugins are after this EQ. So this EQ is not going to affect those sounds that are being made by this distortion. So I always like to use an EQ after my plugins that I'm using here to clean everything up afterwards. So this is what the sound ended up being, just this drone. So it's kind of got this engine revving type sound that's really good for trailers. You'll hear it a lot. I've also used another drone here just to add some extra, and I've also got same kind of pitch shifting thing going. I've also got some pan going, so this is going from the right-hand side down to the left. So it's just shifting in your ear as you listen. It's just a cool effect, and the only thing I'm using on it is just some EQ. So here's that sound. All right, so that just shifts as it goes along from one ear to the other. All right. And then I've also got here, this is one of our tubas. We have a playable tuba in Density Engine. So what I've done with this is it's a tuba rip. So I've just added some distortion and saturation with trash again and some pitch. And I've created this sound here. Really sounds like a type of rip. That's why I called it that. So that's just bringing in the intensity more as this riser goes along. At the end, you want something to really pop and bring in the intensity on the last end. So these are the sounds we have so far. All right. And then I got one of these reverse tonal patches that we have. These are all just drag and drops from our, when you buy Density, you also get the waves with it that you can drag and drop and manipulate in your projects however you want. So this here is a reverse tonal sample that we have. And with no plugins on it, this is what it sounded like. Alright. It's already pretty cool on its own. But I've just added some EQ, just the same thing. I always like to do this. An engineer taught me this in the past, and this is just helpful to clean up all this low end down here. Just like before, you don't want all that mess down there. It's just going to mud up your sound, especially when you're stacking stuff. If all these have mud down there, it's your sound cumulatively is just going to be this muddy mess. I've also added one of my other favorite distortion plugins or saturation is Decapitator. So I've just added some extra drive here to it. All right, so this sound with that extra distortion. Just kind of put some extra bite on it, giving an extra gritty type feel to it. That's something that's quite desirable in a lot of trailers nowadays. Here's our sound. Alright, and then I've added one more element. I really like these metal swipes that we have. They're perfect for horror and all sorts of different stuff. But so this one here, I've actually stretched it. That's a cool thing you can do with audio manipulation. You can actually take a sample and with Cubase here, you just go to slicing, or sizing rather, applies time stretch. And so then you can just manipulate this and it will stretch out that sound. So what that's doing when it's stretching out the sound, it's also lowering the pitch. So you can make some really cool sounds with that. If you stretch it out super far, you can make some really cool drones, all sorts of eerie sounds. But so I've just kind of extended this a little bit just to kind of give the metal swipe a more intense, eerie type feel to it. That's the feel I was kind of going with this riser. So here's that sound with no plugins on it and slowed down. So that's just kind of this cool, eerie, airy noise that I've added to the riser. Just a cool extra effect to it. And I've also added some more Decapitator, one of my favorites. And so that's this sound here. Whoops. All right. that. And then, so now we have a full riser here. And when we're done, we have kind of this cool screaming engine accelerating riser that really brings in some intensity on the back end of your trailer. So that's how I make risers. I hope you guys enjoyed.